All right, so we went over the most common attacks when the person is standing in the tarantula guard. Remember the idea here is that we're funneling him into a more controlled position, which is dropping to his knees. Dropping to the knees, they do it to find a little bit of base and balance and feel more safe, but actually it puts them in more danger because their neck and their arms and their shoulders are much closer to us to attack and more vulnerable. Okay, the only thing that's going to give us trouble is the knee in the middle, but that's easy to deal with the utility leg. Okay, so I'm going to show you first from the knees, the reverse de la Riva or the half guard side, the right hip side, whatever you want to call it. But when he's putting his weight on the right side of your body, we're going to have different attacks than when he's in the middle and when he's on the left. Okay, so the first one is just going to be something that looks familiar if you like to play spider guard, the far side triangle. Okay. So he's got this knee in the middle. He's kind of forcing like a half guard, kind of reverse de la Riva position. Right? I still have my control. I'm very safe here. And one of the things that you can do in this position is fire this leg to make this hand post. So I can do like this, and this hand is always going to post. If he doesn't, he's going to get swept. Okay? So we're going to take advantage of this, and we're going to make a little bit of space so I can pull my leg out, and we're going to post on his knee like this. Okay? So I'm here. I make a little space. I bring my foot to his knee, and now I'm gonna extend his leg away, fire this leg, and hang the collar so that it makes his hand post, and it gets us in an angle that we can attack that triangle. Let's rotate a little bit. So I'm here, I make a little space. When I make this space, I'm just putting my foot on the ground, and I'm kind of like doing little shoulder shrugs just to get myself into like a better position to kick the leg. If you feel too crowded, you don't have to stay in that position. Work with this free leg just to hip escape around, right? So I can pull myself around just with this leg and moving my shoulder, okay? So that's how I'm getting around in this position, all right? So I'm really tight. Maybe he's putting some pressure. So I start to work with my foot on the ground. And now look at this angle that I'm at. I'm really on my right hip. I'm ready to fire this leg in that position, okay? So I post on his far knee. I'm gonna extend, and then I'm firing my leg in this like diagonal arc, boom. Okay, so I'm not just going straight up, guys. I can feel my heel digging and forcing him diagonally across, like it's pushing the back of his arm. I'm not just like, doing this, okay? So I'm gonna spread his leg, fire this grip, and then I'm also hanging this. So I'm bringing this collar out and I'm hanging here, putting weight into this grip. Once I have him here, I'm gonna keep this arm on the ground just by hanging this grip, and I'm gonna use this to pick up my hips, okay? So I'm gonna start to step on this, right? And a lot of times, like when I do this, I'll even let go and go double collar here, just to double up on this, okay? So I step on this, and my foot that was posting on the knee, I'm gonna jump my hips underneath, and I'm gonna hook under his arm, okay? So I just made him post, I'm gonna go here, like this. And look how I pick my hips up off the ground. This is very important because he's gonna have this knee inside, like this, okay? So you need to be able to pick your hips up and shoot over top of his knee, okay? If you keep your hips on the ground, you're just gonna run into this like Pride Rock like defense structure right here that's in front of your hips, okay? Separating your hips from his neck, all right? So make sure you're using this foot on the bicep, and I'm bridging and picking up my hips here, like this, just stomping on that foot on the bicep. So I go from here to make his hand post, and now this is gonna keep his hand posting, and this is gonna pick my hips up, and it's gonna allow me to shoot my hips straight through, okay? So I'm here, I make a little bit of space, extend, here, boom, he posts, and now I'm hanging my weight here, stepping on this, and I'm taking my hips off the ground and boom, shooting straight around his neck and his arm. So I'm going here. I'm bridging up, bridging here. Once I get the catch in this triangle, I break his posture by crunching. So I go here and I pull him as close to me as I can because I don't want him to posture. I don't want him to start to pass. I don't want to stay here relaxed where he starts to get up. I want to just bring my knees to my chest as hard as I can and then lock the triangle from there, regardless of where his arm is. So I'm just going to bring my knees to my chest. If I feel like he's slim enough that I can lock my triangle, I'll just go ahead and start to do that. So I like to pull the head down just to make a little space to bring my top leg perpendicular across his shoulders here, okay? And then I can start to lock this. If I feel like he's too broad, I'll bridge, bring the arm across, come back down and lock it on the other side of my hip, and then I do the same thing. I pull the head, and then my knees are pinching in like this, but I'm still working with my legs. So I pull, my knees are pinching, and then I start to I can step my foot on the hip to make that angle, grab my shin, and lock my triangle in, okay? Make a little angle. Here. Pull my knees to my chest. If I feel like his arm is really in the way, then I'll bridge my hips so that his arm can pass across. Break the posture again. Pull the head. Make my angle, grab my shin, and lock. Make sure you're not locking over your toes. This is mostly for you lower belts, white belts, maybe some blue belts. You guys make this mistake sometimes. Don't lock over your foot. Don't like ankle lock yourself. Make sure your toes can point up to the sky. Don't do ballerina feet like this, okay? So I should be able to see my toes pointing up. I wanna have it connected on my shin, not on my foot, okay? Here, all right? Okay, so we did one submission. Unfortunately, when they're on the right side like this, there aren't a ton of submissions. The knee in the middle really gives you a lot of trouble, but there's a lot of sweeps and attacks we can do off of this still, okay? So the next one we're gonna do is gonna involve a mechanic that's gonna be really, really important and probably one of the strongest attacks from this position. If you play deep half, this is gonna look a little familiar, all right? So this is gonna be a back take from this position here. Let's rotate a little bit. And notice we're kind of in the reverse De La Riva position here. We're not going to use reverse De La Riva for this entry. We're going to use more of like a deep half style entry to get underneath, okay? So what I want to do is straighten my bottom leg here like this. You can keep your knee pointing forward, yeah. And then I'm going to start to pull his lower leg, like his shin, away from the ground, away from his body, and I'm pinching it between both of my legs. Okay, so it looks like this here. 1, 2. And I feel like there's a squeeze here. Okay, so like Logan can't just pull his knee out like this. All right, and once I have this, I'm gonna enter this position just like deep half. So I'm gonna start to roll underneath. Like if you go to deep half without the spider, you kind of roll underneath and you face the opposite direction, pinching his leg, and it's gonna pull his leg straight. I'm doing the same thing, except instead of pinching here, I have my foot on the bicep, but I still have my lower legs pinching, okay? So it's actually a little bit safer because it keeps his weight suspended above us at leg length. So he's gonna feel super light to go underneath. You can do this movement really, really fast, all right? So I'm here, I have my foot on the bicep, I'm controlling the collar, I'm super safe here. I extend my leg, I grab his lower leg here, and then I'm gonna swing underneath past this space under here. And I'm gonna let go of the grip and go straight to his back. So I'm going here. I'm grabbing his belt here, still controlling the sleeve so he can't post. And now I'm gonna switch my hips and get up to my knees, okay? Now, this is a back take I like to use a lot. Let's rotate a little bit. Or scoot back, yeah. Not a back take, but like a way to attack the back where I'm sitting on this shin. I showed it earlier in a previous technique. We're gonna end up in the same position. I have my knee inside. I'm sitting on his shin like this. I picked his hook. My toes are on the ground. And I'm gonna switch to my seat belt and start to drive the shoulder down once again. And now an important detail is my left foot right here, I'm gonna keep my toes on the ground because it's gonna create like a pillar where he can't extend his leg and he can't defend me from getting this bottom hook. All right, so look, I drive the shoulder down. And look at this. This is like pointed or like push onto the ground. So try to extend your leg, Logan. It's trapped. It's trapped. But if I relax it a little bit, he extends it, I won't get my bottom hook. Like if we rotate and he starts to bring his knee to his chest here, I won't get the hook. You see? So it's important that when you end up in this position where you've picked the hook, I have my toes on the ground. When I fall to the ground like this, go ahead and roll to your back. I post my foot on the ground and I can extend my leg and get that first hook. That's the hardest part when you're taking the back, is just getting one hook to get the control. We already have the seatbelt, but we need that first hook so that we can really start to like reset the back and attack the back and like not have to just use the seatbelt control to maintain, okay? So as soon as you get that first hook, you can release your post, put your foot on the ground, and adjust so you don't have like this crappy position here. I'm way too low on his back. I need to put my foot on the ground and slide up his body, and now I can start to get my hook, okay? So let's go back to the entry. We'll do it on this side. It's important you get in fast, guys, because he'll close this knee and kind of close the door on you, and you'll have to go back out, okay? So I'm straightening my leg, and I'm just using this portion of my thigh to grab his calf, his shin area, okay? I'm not using my shin or anything at all. I'm more pinching him here. So this isn't really doing anything. And then I'm working with my grip to pull him over me and kind of pull myself underneath too. So I'm not just moving all his body weight, I'm moving myself mostly, okay? So I'm using the grip in the collar and I'm also blading my foot off. So the blade of my foot is pushing against his arm and it's allowing me to go underneath, all right? The collar grip is helping a little bit, just kind of hanging on him and helping me get under. So I'm going here, I let my arm go underneath, and I let my head dip out the back. And now I start to pull his grip to me with my left hand and get up to my elbow and switch my knees. Come up to your knees, there we go. And so I should already be trapping his leg here, okay? Switch to my far underhook, near side seatbelt, use my weight to drive his shoulder down, make sure you keep this foot on the ground. Boom, try to extend that bottom hook. I'm pushing my foot into the ground, guys. Extend, first hook, let go, hip escape, second hook, okay? Just one more detail when you guys are doing this, or just something I have to reiterate. We're taking advantage of this space here. So you need to be very fast when you get under. You can't like lollygag here, okay? So I extend, and I start to come up right away, okay? You don't want him to do this and then close all that space off, all right? Because you're not gonna be in danger, but you're not gonna get through, okay? So you're gonna have to get back out and attack something else, okay? We're gonna use this deep half mechanic once again, but we're gonna use it to sweep. And you guys are gonna find this mechanic here brings them really close and allows you to like get underneath them very, very easily, which is like an improvement in position. Anytime we can get underneath their base and start to like kick around and extend them out, it's always gonna be improvement in position. But this is really, really strong. Like this pinch is strong to bring them close, okay? So I wanna talk about a little bit about the evolution of this position for me, okay? Because I used to do it where I would reach and grab the far pants here, and then I'd start to bring them over top and extend, and it worked really well. But I found it was harder and harder to get this grip as my training partner started to realize what I was doing. Okay, so what I started doing is using this deep half entry to bring that leg closer to me, and then come all the way out the back and just stand up with like a single leg type grip. Okay, so you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna extend your leg and capture, squeezing your knees here. Okay, and then I'm gonna start to bring myself underneath, but I'm not gonna bring my arm under like this. I'm gonna assume he's gonna close his knee against my body like that. I don't mind. I'm just gonna keep bringing him all the way across, and his leg, rotate a little bit, his leg is gonna kind of like go across my lap like this, okay? This is great for me because this is single leg X. I can take the improvement in position here, or I can use this to just stand up right away. I can use all that energy I put into the sweep to just get to my feet right away. And that's 99% of the time, that's what I do, okay? So we're gonna trap this leg, start to bring him across, and now I'll even start to coax him even further by letting go of this grip and pushing his body. So I'll start to push his ribs, push his body here until, rotate this way, until we're in this position where I have his leg, I have the foot on the bicep over here, his elbow's on the ground, and I have this free leg to kick right here inside to make even more space. Okay, so I'll wrap around his leg, bring my toes inside to like inside his hip, and now I kick him away as far as I can. I make as much space as I can, and while he's falling away from me, I use the grips to pull myself up. Okay, so I have a grip on his sleeve, and I have this overhook here on his leg. So I'm gonna kick him away, and I'm gonna pull myself to my feet. So I'm going here, 1, 2. And you see I'm pulling his sleeve to me like this. So a lot of times when you pull his sleeve, he falls straight down like this. If he doesn't, if he starts to build up his base, go ahead and build up your base here. Pass the sleeve to your hand and stand up with him. Stand up like this. This is so easy to finish from. I can just do the same kind of finish I did before in the earlier technique where I'm controlling, blocking, dragging, or I can step past, boom, and bring him down this way. Okay, so I can go just like that. Okay. I really like this technique to score, just to get points on the board, because I feel like his immediate reaction to defend it doesn't help defend it at all. Like when I start to do this, people's immediate reaction is to close this space because they think you want to go underneath. And you can just keep going through and finish the sweep, okay? So you don't have to hesitate in this, right? So I extend my leg, start pulling him through. Look, I can start to wrap already with my right arm. Boom. And then I keep that momentum going. I already have my knee on the outside, toes on the inside. Kick him away as far as you can, guys. When you are underneath the person and you're trying to stand up, it's important to understand, like, the farther you kick him away, the harder you kick and the farther you send his weight, the longer it takes him to come back and push his weight on top of you, okay? So if I give this little baby kick and I start to sit up, he's gonna immediately recover and drive whatever's connected to me down to the ground, okay? So I really have to kick him super far so I have a ton of time to get to my feet to the point where he can't push me back down easily, okay? So that means not here on my elbow. This isn't enough. He's still gonna push me back down. Not even just on my knee like this, but more with my toes behind me like this. Now if he starts to push me back, I have base back here, and all I have to do is stand up to finish the sweep, okay? So I just get up to my feet like this, okay? This is just for like all sweeps, like from X guard, single leg X, where you're kicking their weight and you rely on you standing up before they come back. You need to kick them super, super far. It should be very explosive, and you get up before they recover and come back to you, okay? So again, I'm trapping this leg. When I extend my leg, I kind of stretch him out first, like this. So I don't try to trap his leg with my leg relaxed. I go here. And so my leg is straight, and I'm pinching with my thighs. I start to bring him overhead, boom, kick here as far as you can, and then use those grips to pull you up. And something that you'll notice when you do this is he's gonna use this elbow to keep his balance. So when I kick him out and I use this to get up, I'm actually making it harder for him to get up to his feet by pulling this elbow out from under him, like this. So I kick, boom, boom. And then I start to drive my knee in, make sure I have that knee to protect me from his guard. If he starts to reestablish, like I have this knee in the middle, I could start knee cutting right away or side smashing. I'm not gonna get triangled or anything like that. So now we're going to step away from the deep half mechanics of getting underneath a person, and we're just going to go back to a good old classic kiss of the dragon mechanic, okay? Because this is still very useful. The advantage of having your foot on the bicep means you can keep them really far away from you while you spin underneath, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to extend this leg away from my body. So my left leg, let's rotate. I'm gonna extend this leg away from my body, and then I'm gonna start to pull myself underneath, hanging on the collar and using my foot on the bicep to kind of like pull him over top of me. And then I'm gonna release the collar grip, and I'm just gonna control his ankle here once I'm already under. And now I'm gonna start to bring his leg like close to my body, like hugging his leg, and continue to go underneath, using my foot here on the bicep to help pivot myself. So I'm pushing against his bicep with the blade of my foot. And once I get far enough underneath that again I can let go of this grip and he can't regain his balance, I'm gonna release and go to his hamstring. And then I start to use my arm to push me the rest of the way through. My foot that's on the bicep is gonna connect to his the front of his quad. And now notice, guys, I'm keeping his foot off of the ground here. I'm not letting his foot relax to the floor. I'm kind of pulling his leg up on top of my hamstring and keeping my knee close to his to my chest. Now once I get here, I'm just gonna pummel my foot inside straight to his knee. So I'm going here. And then I'm gonna release this grip and grab this side of his hip, and without letting his foot touch the ground, so I'm kind of like keeping this foot light, keeping the weight off the ground, I'm going to pull his hip to my body and I'm going to extend my leg as hard as I can. So it's going to create this effect where it sits him in my lap, okay? So I'm pulling his hip straight to my hip and extending the leg here. So I'm going here. Notice how I'm pulling his hip right into my hip. I'm keeping my chest really close, and then I go and I get my underhook here, and I can control the collar, and then I can start to control my seatbelt. And now when you guys ever get the seatbelt control, but you don't have your hooks yet, not a lot of people know this, but you need to always be pinching your knees on their hips, okay? So just because I have the seatbelt doesn't mean I have great control, okay? I can have the tightest seatbelt in the world, but if he starts to throw his hips around, like if he just starts to throw his legs to his knees, go to your knees here, boom, like this, I'm gonna start to have to follow him, and my seatbelt's gonna get more and more loose, okay? So as soon as I sit him down and I get that seatbelt, I'm gonna squeeze my knees here, okay? And now I can start to throw one hook. Usually the hook that I throw is on the underhook side because I can lean and open my arm like this, okay? And then it gives me the space to throw my first hook, then I fall to my bottom hook side, and I can get my second hook, okay? So I'm gonna start extending and kind of pulling myself underneath here. So I'm going here. I'm working a lot like normal Kiss of the Dragon without the foot on the bicep. Rotate this way, rotate more. Normal Kiss of the Dragon when he's like this and he's not putting weight on me, I'm gonna extend him away like this. And then I'm gonna kind of use this pendulum motion. to bring myself underneath with my free leg. But because my free leg is attached to his body, I have a much more efficient way to get under. I can use that connection to move myself into position. So I start to extend, and I'm extending my bottom leg too. And then I'm gonna release the collar, maintain this grip, pulling him over, and I'm gonna hug his calf tight to my leg, like this, here. Okay, so I'm not cupping with the, you see that? It's so big. I'm not cupping with my hand, like this. I'm hugging. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so I'm gonna extend, start to bring myself underneath, hug his leg tight to my body. And notice my instep here, guys. I'm wrapping it around his thigh, almost to the point where my toes could poke in his belly. So I'm not like here, like this. I'm really like intertwined with his leg here, okay? So make sure your leg is touching his hip on this side. And then I hug, and I use this to start to bring myself underneath. Now I can see the back of his hamstring, so I'm gonna trade, and then bring my shin to his quad like this. Keeping his leg high up off of the ground, and now I can just pummel my leg straight behind his knee, control his hip here. I can grab the material, or I can grab this pocket right in his hip, and I'm gonna extend his leg straight, pull his hip to me. Don't let his foot touch the ground, guys, because that friction right there is gonna make it so you can't kick his leg. So pull his leg off the ground, and then pull and extend. Oh. Now look how I already got my underhook. I'm already starting to pinch my knees really tight. Now I can get my seatbelt, open with that underhook side, get my first hook, and then I can fall safely to my bottom hook side, get my second hook, okay? So sometimes when you're playing this position, there's something you have to address, which is people laying down on their back just to avoid the position altogether and counting on you releasing your grips to try to get on top, and then they'll get on top first, and then they'll be free of the grips, okay? So it'll play out something like this. I'm playing the position, I'm attacking a lot, he's feeling vulnerable. So he'll start to lay this hip on the ground like this, yes, and start to put this knee in the middle like this. So it's hard for you to attack, and it's hard for you to elevate him because he's leaning so far back. And if I just release my grips and try to get up, he's just gonna get up first, okay? So this is what you have to do. You have to know how to deal with this because it's super annoying, but it's not like a real defense, okay? Rotate a little bit. So notice he's on his hand. So we're gonna use something we did before in a technique, which is the triangle, the far side triangle. We're gonna hang our weight on his hand and make it hard for him to come up off of that. Because when I start to come up, he's gonna push himself on top first and he's gonna take the hand off the ground. So I'm gonna make that kind of hard, all right? So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do like a tricep extension. Like if I was in the gym, getting swole, doing tricep extensions like this, same mechanic, except I'm doing it onto his arm, like that, okay? So I do a tricep extension here, and now I'm just gonna take my foot off the bicep and I'm gonna kick and stand up, like kick myself up to my feet and put my leg behind me, like this. So my leg is kind of behind me and I'm using this to get up. So this is gonna make it so, sure, he can try to get up, but he's gonna be slower than me, and I'm just gonna be able to hug around his leg and keep him down on bottom, okay? So he's laying down here. I feel like he's trying to just avoid the fight in this position altogether. He's trying to kind of like gimmick his way out of the position rather than actually breaking the position. counting on you getting frustrated, releasing your grips, and then him getting up. So we're not gonna let that happen, okay? So I'm gonna start to hang my weight, and then I'm just gonna take my foot off, kick and break, and then look at this, like, you can come up a little bit. I'm gonna kick and break, and then I'm gonna use this to get up, and I'm gonna bring my feet as far behind me as I can so that I can use this to get up and push myself on top, like this, okay? And sometimes they'll run away from you, and you'll end up like in a single leg or something like that, okay? So he's laying down, boom. Here, he starts to stand up. I just hug over his leg. Go ahead and stand up, like this. Stand all the way up to your feet. Boom. I just stand all the way up with him. I can pass the grip to my hand like this, just so I can kind of maintain the grip a little bit, or I can control my own grip in the collar. This is fine too, okay? But the way that I like to finish with this is I pass the grip underneath, and then I grab high on his collar, and I'm just gonna kind of like do a bow step or run the pipe, and I'm gonna make him super heavy, okay? So I'm gonna step back, and I'm gonna bow, and I'm gonna hang all my weight on this free leg so that when he goes to hop to keep his balance, it's gonna be so heavy and weighted on the ground that he's gonna lose his balance, okay? So I go here. And notice how I was willing to go all the way down to my knees. I didn't have to like, do like this. I'm committing to bringing his weight really far to the ground to the point where I'm dropping down to my knees, okay? And I just end up in a nice position here. I can release this grip, start to cut my knee across, go for knee cuts and stuff like that. It's a good position to end in, okay? So one more time. A lot of times it doesn't come to this. You get on top and it surprises them, and then you're just on top and you're passing, okay? But often, like, Logan is a really good wrestler. If I did this on him, for sure he would scramble and get up, and I would have to take him down, probably unsuccessfully, okay? So we're here playing the position. He's laying down. If he doesn't have a grip on the pants, like he's trying to pummel his hand or something like that, this is even better, because that means I can just bring my leg back without any trouble, okay? But if he's gripping, lay more on your, put your knee in the middle. Yeah, this is more what they'll do here, okay? I'll take my foot off, break. Here, if he stands up, I keep this, and I pass the grip. And now I'm kind of stepping like this. So I'm stepping back, and then I'm pulling him straight to the ground, hanging really hard on the high end of his collar, so it makes him super heavy. So when he hops on that leg, it's like he's not light and nimble. It's like suddenly he weighs like 380 pounds, and somebody's making him like do this. You know, it'd be really hard if you're that big. We're here, grabbing nice and tight, grabbing nice and high, and then I'm stepping back, and I'm gonna make him hop a lot, like I'm kind of like doing this, and just making him heavier and heavier. All the way to my knees, and now I address whatever guard he sets up, try to get as much as I can once he hits the ground, okay? So this attack, it's almost like it's not a real attack. It's more just like an easy answer for a really like stupid reaction you guys are going to run into. If you start to get really like dangerous and threatening with this position, people always try to, rather than gamble navigating the guard, they'll try to lay down and get you to give up the grips. Okay, and you don't really have to do that. You can just take the 2 points right away if you use this stand up. Okay, so the trick is make sure you weight his hand. Because if he's laying down like this, he's counting on doing this, boom, and getting back on top of you. But if you make his hand heavy, and then it comes time for him to get up and try to beat you to the punch, but suddenly this is really heavy, he's not gonna be able to get up. And then he's gonna have to like run away from you, or he's just gonna concede the bottom position, okay? Just something to have in your tool bag, because I promise you guys you're gonna run into this. Somebody in your gym or in a competition is gonna try to lay down, and you're gonna wanna have an